Thank you. In this segment, I will describe how organizational change is a key element in developing and successfully implementing a vision. I'll describe what the literature and managerial practice have shown to be key to successful organizational change in many kinds of organizations, whether it be in the educational, business, or government sector. I'll also give you an example of how one organization used this process to generate a productive outcome. We have found there are 4 keys to organizational success: framework and systems, assessment and measurement, teamwork and consensus, and training and learning. For this presentation, I will focus on 2 of them: framework and systems, and assessment and measurement. 2 of the key ingredients in translating vision into increased productivity. Framework and systems, or architecture as Tom called it, is the key ingredient to successfully planning organizational change. As you might recall from one of my previous ITC presentations, these framework methods of changing organizations fall into 4 broad categories: shaping and anticipating the future, otherwise known as Level 1, defining what businesses to be in, otherwise known as Level 2 work, re-engineering internal processes, known as Level 3 work, and incrementally improving processes, known as Level 4 work. The more change is necessary, the greater the change organizations must undergo. The greater change organizations undergo, the greater the risk to the organization. Whenever dealing with vision, you are dealing with Level 1 and Level 2 work. And the greater the performance gap Tom mentioned between an organization's future vision and its current capabilities, the greater the need for change. Let's first talk in more detail about these levels and show how developing a vision fits in. Level 1 work is the most fundamental level of what an organization can work at. Depending on the outcomes, an organization may substantially change its company direction and purpose. Creating these scenarios involves creating multiple stories of what the future might be and assessing how the future might affect your organization. As the future is not entirely predictable, creating these multiple stories allows the organization to change direction when its indicators say a particular future is unfolding. It can then take advantage of what opportunities may come about from this particular future. Using scenario planning allows the organization to make concrete and visible what events people believe will happen. It also allows management to explore the interaction between social, political, economic, and competitive concerns. In addition, scenario planning provides indications of what might happen so that the organization's vision of itself can thrive. Perhaps you think that using scenarios is too abstract and of little practical use. I would like to remind my friends what happened in Brazil when I was down there a few years ago. At that time, we were presenting a workshop where we used scenario planning. One of the scenarios we developed was that there would be significant economic turmoil in South America a few years from that time. As a result, Lula da Silva, otherwise known as Lulu, was elected president of Brazil as a reaction to high unemployment and economic despair. We all chuckled at that, knowing it would never happen. Now that this is a possibility, I hope my friends will take advantage of the thinking we did on this particular scenario. Another level to discuss is Level 2 work, otherwise known as determining your organization's core competencies. This involves determining the mission of the organization and identifying what the organization should do best. The first step in this process is to review the opportunities presented in each scenario. There may be a wide variety of opportunities that might occur due to changing demographics, politics, technology, and competition. However, choosing which of these opportunities to pursue is a difficult one. The second step in choosing these opportunities is to perform a SWOT analysis, that is, determining the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that an organization might encounter in this scenario. What the organization does well currently is that it also needs to do in the future is defined as an organization's core competence. It is important to note here that an organization must do well compared to its competitors and potential competitors. Benchmarking, as once often described by another ITC presenter, Jerry Finnegan, is an important activity to make these comparisons. Benchmarking will allow an organization to really define its core competence. It is also important to note here that what an organization's competence is in one scenario may be a weakness in another. An organization's weakness in one scenario may become a strength in another. I will talk more about this in a few minutes. Now that we have discussed Level 1 and Level 2 work, let's talk about how to integrate these concepts into an organization's vision, and then about translating that vision into action. As you see in this diagram, an organization develops scenarios, identifies opportunities and core competencies. At this point, an organization can define its vision, mission, and values. After this has been done, it then needs to evaluate and define the measurement system, as well as develop specific objectives to achieve its intended mission. Senior management must then develop an implementation plan, implement that plan, and then evaluate its success. Data from this evaluation is incorporated into the data collected through scenario development, and the whole process starts again. There are some important points to consider when using this process. First of all, there may be much back and forth discussion between identifying the opportunities, the vision, goals, mission, and core competencies. This is not completely a linear process, and the organization may have to develop many iterations before completion. Second of all, multiple visions for the organization may come about through this process. At the least, there may be a different vision for the organization in each scenario. As an example, look at Apple Computer Company. A few years ago, Apple and its Macintosh computer was one of the dominant players in its market. I'm sure that its vision was to continue in this fashion. Unfortunately for Apple, it has become a niche player whose sales only account for 2% of all personal computers sold. Its vision of the future must accommodate this as they seek to take advantage of their niche. The third point to consider when using the vision development and implementation plan is that the visions developed are not so much a vision of the organization, but a vision of what the future might be. If you review some of the more well-known visions, you will see that this is the case. One example can be seen with Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company. His vision was for every American family to have a car. John Chambers, the head of Cisco, the internet equipment maker, has a vision of the network as the computer. Now let's take a look at the next component of organizational change, the objectives and measurement system. The objectives